Well, cries for change have echoed across the nation this weekend. Thousands demanding no more violence against women and no more lives lost as a big Aussie name joined the chorus, bravely sharing her story.
Say it once, say it again! There's no excuse for violent men.
Fueled by equal parts grief and anger, they marched. They chanted.
1, 2, 3, 4. We won't take it anymore.
They raged.
We were notified the coward who murdered my sister was getting a sentence reduction of up to almost 14 months due to the hardships that he faced.
Gathering to protest in every capital city and major regional hubs like Byron Bay, Geelong and the Sunshine Coast in their thousands.
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
I'm doing everything I can to make sure that whatever I experienced is experienced by my daughters and my nieces.
It's important to me because I'm a girl and I don't want to be scared when I'm walking.
And as they shared their stories...
In 2013, my daughter Rakaya died at the hands of her then partner.
An Aussie radio and TV host has bravely shared hers.
I realised it was time.
Erin Molan thanking viewers for an outpouring of support after coming forward with her own story of domestic violence.
Maybe, just maybe, and who knows, by sharing my story, it would help others stuck right now feel just that little bit less alone, less ashamed, and most importantly, less scared to ask for help.
And she says her work as an advocate is only just getting started.
Erin Molan is a Sky News host and co-hosts Today FM breakfast radio show, Hughesy, Ed and Erin, and she's on the desk with us now. Erin, so good to see you. You actually didn't want to tell your story to begin with, did you? What changed?
No, I thought about it a while ago. I think there were just stories starting to appear more and more often, but when I thought about what that would involve and the people that would hurt, and I'm not talking about those directly involved, but people like my family or my dad or people that weren't aware in detail what was happening. So it kind of, just like it does when you're in a violent relationship, it impacts people around you. Even if you're doing your best to hide it, you're generally being pulled away from them, or you're isolating yourself because it's too hard to keep up this facade that everything is okay. So you hurt your family without meaning to then. So then the thought of me detailing some of the pretty harrowing things I've gone through and hurting my family again played really heavily on my mind, and particularly my dad. You know, Dad was a 6'2" Major General, Liberal Senator. You know, he was a really tough but incredible man, and I think for him the thought of his daughter going through something like that would have been horrific.
What do you think he would have done if he'd known?
After one of the incidents, gosh, I'm shaking and I host TV for a living, so this is a very different position for me to be in, but one of the incidents that occurred, a policeman rang my parents and said, this isn't our place, but if it was my little girl, I'd want to know. And I remember Dad coming to the apartment and pressing the buzzer and begging me to come home, and I said no. And he didn't know the extent of it then, but I'll always remember looking through the little camera thing and seeing his face there and seeing so much pain and hurt, and still I wouldn't go. So, yeah, I feel very guilty, actually, for a lot of the hurt. And I didn't do anything, but I feel guilty.
Is that a strange part of all of this? Obviously, telling the story, there's an empowerment that comes with that you get to own it. So there's an element where you must feel stronger from this, but it must also make you feel very vulnerable as well, now that everybody knows. How are you juggling that? Yeah,
it's a great question. I think I look back over my career and we all have highs and lows, and I've had a lot of challenges that are public, and people will often say how strong I am and how I can just continue to carry on and do my job and cope when things are hard. So I've always just been strong. One of the things I was saying to you guys just before, I went to the football last night for the first time, and a woman turned around and said, I saw you in the emergency department and I knew. And I said to my husband at the time, I knew, but I didn't know how to say something. And she said, then when I saw the story, I went, I knew. And it got me thinking, because I've received so many messages over the past, people who've known me for 2 decades saying, I suspected, I thought, I didn't know how to say anything. And I I look back and I think it's such a hard conversation to have with someone, and if you bring it up and it's not happening, it can be very awkward. But my God, if someone had maybe just pulled me aside at some point and just asked me, even if it was hard, it may have ended before it became years, or it may have just been one person that reached out or that was brave enough. And it's a hard thing to do, I get that. But yeah, I think if people suspect, then generally there might be something there. So I think just to reach out in a really kind and gentle way and ask is something that we should try and do.
What can you share with us about your experience during that time?
It was awful. You know, it was, you're just living in fear all the time. And I think when it first starts, you can justify it in ways. And whilst, you know, I'm a fairly smart person, I always knew that I didn't deserve it or it wasn't my fault. It's, oh, he was drunk, or I didn't do this properly, or he's just, you know, there might be jealousy. And, you know, I might have spoken to a man and told him, and then you think, oh, gosh, he's just angry because he loves me so much. You know, and even if you're very smart, intelligent, successful, you can still fall into this awful trap. And I was so deeply embedded in it. And because I didn't like myself enough, or I didn't have enough confidence, and they play a big part in that, you know. You get told constantly that no one else would ever find you attractive. These are all your flaws. You're this, you're that. So you reach this stage where you're so battered and beaten down and you're isolated from your family because you can't see them because they'll figure out something's going on, and you feel helpless. You don't feel like you are capable of getting help or that you're worth getting help. And then you start to think, well, maybe this is me. Maybe I'm the problem because they say they would never do it with anyone else. You know, it's this cycle. And particularly when you're young and you haven't developed kind of strength or coping skills, or it's really hard.
You said before that you'd ended up in emergency at one point.
Yeah, I've had a few trips to hospital, yeah. I mean, I don't doubt for a second that had I stayed in that relationship, I'd be alive today. I wouldn't be. There is no doubt in my mind. I came close on many occasions. And I think, yeah, that's a hard thing to deal with, but I never, you know, I never did until now. I just kind of kept going. So if I could just say again to anyone watching now, I see you and I get it. And everyone says, I don't know why you don't leave. But I get it. It's really bloody hard, but I promise you, you actually can. And life is amazing. I'm so blessed. You know, I'm a 40-year-old single mother with a daughter, but I am so happy. I'm in such a beautiful spot. And it's not like I would want it to happen to me again, but it's made me into, I think, the person I am today. And I think there are parts of it that's contributed to some of the things I'm trying to do to help others. So,
Erin Molan, you are such a gutsy woman, and your little girl would be so proud of you. And there are so many women out there who are thankful that you're speaking out and you've spoken up on behalf of them. So thank you for coming in today.
I actually did say that if, you know, when I meet her first boyfriend, I want to worry about him breaking her heart and not her bones. And that's one of the real driving forces. It's so common. It's so common. So thank you for giving me a platform.
Well, thanks for sharing. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely.
And as you said, you know, for what you've been through, to then make that decision, it's a big step. So thanks
really
very much for,
Thank you so
helping
much,
us out.
everyone.
There's a hug coming your way in just a sec. But for national 24-hour support, you can call 1-800-RESPECT on 1-800-737-732. Hugs coming now.